Next one is how must, 274, how must a Catholic form a right conscience?
Just as everyone is bound to form a right conscience, so a Catholic is. But I would say even more so, because the Catholic has a better opportunity to form conscience well. I say better opportunity because the Catholic has the Church clearly giving him or her guidance. The general laws of God, which apply to everyone, most of it would be clear to all people of goodwill, but not quite. People can be led astray by the prevailing ideologies or the prevailing ideals presented by press, radio, television, or by what most people are doing, or simply their way is obscured by their weakness, human weakness, or temptation, or what other people suggested to them. God has not left us helpless in the midst of all that. Christ himself gave clear teaching, and he gave the apostles the duty and the command to teach in his name. Moreover, he promised them the assistance of the Holy Spirit. Therefore, the teaching authority of the Church, which is at the service of the law of God, is not above the law of God. It is its servant, but a faithful servant of God's will, without fear, without discount, without reduction, but without adding. The bishops and the Pope must clearly interpret the laws of God. The Catholic must form his or her conscience, taking very clear notice of this teaching authority of the Church. That will make clearer still the dictates of natural reason.
Yeah, I guess this is so important that we think in our society that we can just follow our conscience, do what we want to do, but we have an obligation to fill our minds with the truth and to watch what we read and to be careful what we put in our minds, because if we just read every book out and think it's the gospel, then we're in trouble.
Yes, that's because many people mix up 2 points.
Yes.
One point is that we must follow our conscience, right, and we must leave other people free in the area of conscience. We must not violate another person's conscience. That part is true. In that sense, everyone has right to religious freedom. Right. But that only means that we should not do violence to another person's conscience. But there is a second injunction, which is equally important. And the Vatican II document on religious freedom says it also, that everyone is bound to look for the truth, especially in what regards God and true religion. And having found it, everyone is bound to follow it. That means conscience must be educated. Yes. We cannot presume that everyone, everywhere, will have the correct judgment on every situation. That is presuming far too much. De facto, it is not so.
Right. Well, this is, I think, it's a devastating effect of television, because it's such a powerful medium, and we're having people that, most cases in the United States anyway, less than 8% of those that are in the media industry go to any church. Now, in the United States, over 95% of the population go to a church, but less than 8% that conduct our media, that form our thoughts, go to any church. So we have people that mostly are alien, just don't believe in God or anything what we're believing in, controlling this media that we're drinking in. So we have to be so discerning what we watch on television, what our children watch on television.
Very necessary. People must be aware of it and must be ready to examine a situation and criticize it. Yes. Indeed, if I were the parents and the children viewed something on television, I would view it with them if possible. Then after that, we switch off. And then we discuss it in the light of our Catholic faith.
That's a good way to do it. That's a good way
we
to do it.
discuss it
Yes.
then. What do you think?
Yeah.
What, does that agree with the gospel? Does that agree with the clear teaching of the Church? Then we can assess, and we should be able to write those who produced it If it is something we think is excellent, we should be able to write them and say full marks. And if it is something we think is damaging, we don't let them get away with it.
Right. I think that's true. That's a good way to do it, to watch the TV show with your, provided it's not immoral, obviously, the immorality there, but so often they're just subtle, and you can tell the children then this is not a right relationship.
Yeah, if it is immoral, it is switched off.
That's right.
And if the parents were watching, and then with the children, they see it is immoral, the parents say, you see, is this acceptable? Can we continue to look at this?
Yes.
To continue to look at it means to put ourselves in danger of sin.
That's right.
So our way, our duty is very clear. Switch off.
Yes. And I think this is so often parents just let the kids watch anything they want, and the television becomes the babysitter for the kids.
Yeah, babysitter, and also a silent invader of the home.
That's right.
Silent coup d'etat,
You're right.
taking the children away from the parents in open daylight.
Right.
And at night, too.
That's right.
In their very rooms.
It's amazing. And the music is doing the same thing because it's driving home these messages. That's why here on the Holy Family Fest we had songs composed around the ideas that we're trying to get across, because you could use this in a good sense too. Good music, good lyrics, good material will constantly be putting new ideas that are the truth into our minds. So I guess what we're saying is that parents have an obligation to really discern what their children are watching.
Yes, and when we say the church authority, that is in practice the bishops and the pope, give teaching to form right conscience, it isn't an imposition they are doing. No, it is a service they are doing. As the Second Vatican Council says in the document on the church, paragraph 25, bishops who teach in communion with the Roman pontiff are to be revered, that is respected, as by all as witnesses of divine and Catholic truth, witnesses. The faithful, for their part, are obliged to submit to their bishop's decision made in the name of Christ in matters of faith and morals, and to adhere to it with a ready and respectful allegiance of mind. Faith, after all, is obedience of the mind, intellectual obedience to God. We can't expect God to appear to us in a vision every day and instruct each one of us. He's left the bishops and the Pope for that. This loyal submission of the will and intellect must be given in a special way to the authentic teaching authority of the Roman pontiff, that is the Pope, even when he does not speak ex cathedra, in such wise, indeed, that his supreme teaching authority be acknowledged with respect, and that one sincerely adhere to decisions made by him conformably with his manifest mind and intention.
Even though he doesn't speak ex cathedra, you say?
Even though he does not speak ex cathedra. You can't expect the Pope every week to say, I am now going to speak ex cathedra. Even though, therefore, he doesn't speak like that. And
So
that is
what is ex cathedra for the audience?
the Pope speaks ex cathedra when, in the most solemn way of which he is capable as Pope, he enunciates a doctrine to be believed or a moral practice to be followed or not followed by all as sent by Christ. And he intends it and clearly to be believed in by all Christians under pain of them not following Catholic doctrine. And only on faith and morals. That means what they are to believe or what is to guide their conduct. Not therefore on mathematics, not on physical science, not on geography, not on those points. The Pope can make mistakes on those points. But on faith and morals, when he is teaching for the entire church and to be believed by all, necessarily, he has divine guarantee that he will never make a mistake.
Right. Now the Pope, when was, I don't know when the last ex cathedra of the state was made, do you remember? Or?
The last one that is not debated at all, that means in a very solemn function and so on, was 1950. That was when the Pope defined the dogma of the Assumption, Pope Pius XII. But of course, since then, the popes have canonized many saints.
Yes, right.
And an act of canonization is an infallible act. Moreover, the Second Vatican Council, there are certain documents where the council spoke in a solemn way on doctrine.
Yes.
And the popes then, since then, while not perhaps speaking according to all the circumstances of ex cathedra, have come near it on certain doctrines.
Yes.
But we don't need to go into all that now.
But we're saying that we really have to follow what the Pope is teaching, like in an encyclical and an apostolic letter and other documents, that it's just not ex cathedra that we follow the Pope.
Exactly. That's
Yes.
what is meant.
Right.
Even if it is not definitive in the sense of ex cathedra.
Yes.